Hemp Wizard products are proudly used by former New England Patriots linebacker Brandon Spikes, Suicide Silence guitarist Mark Haleman, Canadian actor Jackson Rowe, Mr. Grimm and Noctis the drummers of Walking Corpse Syndrome, guitarist and vocalist Bub Heaston and bassist Ted Wilson of Black Sasquatch, guitarist and vocalist Adam Hines of Fester, Aaron Witzel, guitarist of Cropsy Maniac, Roy Boy, host of the Licking County Metalheads podcast, Crash Fistfight and Maxine Maxwell, host of the Musicians Hangout podcast, Jeff Towlinski, host of the Hard Rockin' Sports Show. You too can give your beard the magic touch and treat your skin to the finest. Visit hempwizard.net today and use code 20OFF to save 20% off of your entire order.
Good morning and welcome to Saturday, January 28th and the Sunday Audible live from the Sunday Audible studios. And welcome to Championship Weekend. That's right, folks. We're pumped up here. We're getting late in the season, and this is a season that just feels like it's been forever. And so many twists and turns and plots that there's so much to talk about, even in the offseason. But we still got two major weekends of football to talk about, and tomorrow is championship weekend, championship day, not weekend, it's championship day, excuse me. And we had a great weekend of football last week. We'll get to a lot of that. We'll talk about all the twists and turns in those games. And, of course, with my partners, John and Jeff, we'll break down tomorrow's games and give you our picks and get you all set up for the big games. Anyway, guys, welcome back, and looking forward to doing an hour of football with you guys. I was off from the Thursday show on a vacation, just back from sunny, very warm Florida, not hot, very warm, and had a great time. So but I'm happy to be back in front of the mic and talking to my buddy. So let's not delay it anymore. Let's bring on a guy who's wearing probably one of the most hated Eagles in history, going up there with Seth Joyner and Brian Dawkins. LaShawn McCoy, I gotta tell you, one of my most hated Eagles of all time. But he is my buddy, and we'll get a pass, even though the Eagles crushed the Giants last week. And we'll get to the Giants-Eagles game and why I'm not disappointed and why I'm so excited about the future. And we'll talk about all things in the NFL right now. So let's get the show started. Let me bring on my buddy from RFO Records and the snappiest dresser on the show, Mr. John Mahefka. Johnny boy, welcome on.
Tommy, give me some mercy, brother.
That's all right, John. You got to get a little grief when we look right past it. It's okay. Everybody's allowed to be a fan of someone. Listen, I let Jeff hang out with me, and he's a Jet fan. You can't get any worse than that.
That's tough.
Yeah.
So, I'm a Pitt fan, so I got to – plus I like the jersey, and it's not so much I'm a big Eagles fan or anything, though. You know that.
Listen, I get it. I have many hats in the closet for teams I don't root for necessarily because I just like the colors. So I'm with you on it. They're stylish clothes, and you're the fashion maven of the show. So we'll absolutely let that go.
The Deion Sanders of the show, without the brashness.
We'll have to start calling you Prime soon. Let's bring on the third member of our show, and probably the most vocal. I don't know what to make of it, but we love him anyway. He's my co-host on the Thursday Night Hard Rockin' Sports Show, and my buddy for 40 years, Mr. Jeff. I think he saw still Towinski.
No, actually, I'm Eagles 35, Giants 7. which I came very close to hitting on the head. Didn't I?
You were close.
You did. Listen, and I have no issues with either one. The Giants were outmanned. I thought they put a better showing on, and I think the Richie James drop of a wide open, perfectly thrown pass was the changing point of the game. But I don't think it would have changed the outcome.
The changing point of the game was the coin flip when they came out on the field, where they should have just turned around and walked out.
No, listen,
they were outclassed, outdone, out everything.
I can't argue any of it. The Giants were outplayed.
I'm not done.
You're not done. Sorry.
They were outperformed.
No, he's never done. Let him go.
And it was a shame that this team was chosen to represent anyone in the playoffs. I could have went and got a high school team, could have put up a better showing than that. Disgusting. And then they want to sign some of these guys to long-term deals. Smartly.
Yes.
Okay.
Smartly. Yes.
All right.
Yes, very smartly.
Okay.
So we'll get to the Giants and the Jets. Unfortunately, the Jets.
John, how are you? I love your apparel today. It is wonderful that a team from the NFC East has chosen to move forward and march towards the Super Bowl. I just wish it was the Cowboys playing instead of the Niners. To see why certain people their stomach could be twisted.
Listen, either one of them makes me sick, but I will be happy to root for the Niners tomorrow. But I'm happy for the Cowboys because they are in complete disarray. They're stuck with a quarterback who's horrendous. They're stuck with a team that just doesn't know how to build, and they're just going to go into more mediocrity, and I'm very happy about it. They'll keep the same general manager. Hopefully, they'll prop him up like the Crypt Keeper when the time comes, and he'll still keep making the same picks.
This is a team that's made the playoffs how many years in a row with Dak at the helm? Mm-hmm. Now, yes, they haven't had much success in the playoffs, but they're getting to the playoffs year after year after year. Most people would kill to see their teams go to the playoffs that often, and you know it.
I'm not arguing it, except for the fact that you can't, stroll into the playoffs every year and get knocked out in the first round, or 12 straight appearances, can't get past the divisional round, and that goes back, I think, 30 years. So
I think it's been longer. Yeah, about 30 years, they said.
Yeah, 95, I think was when they won their last Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So listen,
almost as long as the Giants, since they've won their last Super Bowl.
Your math's a little off on that. We're about 10 years.
Almost. They didn't say it was 30 years. They said almost.
I think you need to go back to Newdorf and redo math, because 10 years and 30 years is a very big difference.
It's not 10 years. It's more
10 years.
It's more than
2011.
And this is 2023.
Right. All right, so it's 11. It's going 11, going on 12 years. It's still a lot better. It's still better than two teams that I can call off the top of my head. That one would be the Dallas Cowboys, and another certain team in New York going back. I don't know. It might be. They may have. I'm not even sure they called it the Super Bowl back then. When this green team.
It was called the Super Bowl, and they're undefeated.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Undefeated in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, undefeated. That's right.
Undefeated in the Super Bowl.
That's fine. I'll take being 4-1 in the Super Bowl over being 1-0 in the Super Bowl any day. Yes.
There we go.
4-1 in the Super Bowl.
4-1 with 3 lucky victories.
Let's. All right, so since you want to jam it down, I'm going to do it this way. My team has their franchise quarterback, franchise left tackle, their definite head coach, franchise right tackle, and one of the top 3 defensive players from the defensive line on their team already. And I'm not talking about Dexter Lawrence.
Who?
Dexter Lawrence is top 3 defensive tackle, and he might even be maybe top 2. But I'll make it number 3. And Kayvon Thibodeau's ready to pounce next year. This is a team set.
Kayvon Thibodeau took 12 games to fucking get going. You got to be kidding me.
Doesn't matter. And your boy Quentin Williams was a star from the first day. No,
yeah, he was.
No, he was not a star from the first day.
Instant.
Let's
instantly is right.
Let's hold back there, Fuzzface. You have no understanding. My team is way ahead of your team right now, and you know it because we've got our quarterback.
Please.
We've got our franchise running back if we want to keep him. Maybe we will, maybe we won't.
Please.
We know your coach, if he don't make the playoffs next year, is done Our coach is winning NFC Coach of the Year this year.
Look, thank God.
I agree, Tommy.
I woke
Thank
up,
you, John.
and John, just sit there. Stop it.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Dable, I think Dable is Coach of the Year.
Absolutely.
No,
No doubt in my mind, Dable's Coach of the Year.
A Giant fan is the only fan in the history of the NFL that would want to hold on to that coach, Dable, for 10 years and say, well, we got to give him a chance. You know what? If Salah doesn't get the Jets to the playoffs next year or doesn't get the Jets over the hump, get rid of him. On to the next one. I'm not afraid of a rebuild. I'm not afraid to get.
Of course you're not. You've only been in a rebuild for 50 years.
I remember on the radio with you
afraid.
One day when we were doing the show, and you're like, I wouldn't get rid of Pat Shermer. I'd give him another 3 years.
I would have.
The guy sucked after 2 years. Why are you going to keep him? Salah in his second year went 3-4 victories more than he had the year before, and the team is definitely heading in the right direction.
And they lost their last 6 games. They bottomed out.
So
they flamed out 6. You don't lose 6 games to tell me you're on a rebuild and the things are moving
when the year
forward.
Before,
you couldn't figure out
before,
and he's still talking about putting. Wait. He's still talking about making Zach Wilson quarterback next year.
And the next year you win 7 games. You're in the right direction. It does not matter.
What happens when you do that and you go and you win 9 games and you go to the playoffs? Are you in the right direction?
Yeah, and then you play 1 game in the playoffs.
Wait. You just said
out.
Think about what you said. You just said
I heard what you just said.
Your team won 3 extra games this year, and you said they're heading in the right direction. My team won 5 extra games, played 2 playoff games, and yet you tell me they're not heading in the right direction.
Well, first of all, your team was in 2 playoff games.
I said they played in 2 games. I said they played in 2 games.
Another one, they got their asses handed to them.
But they played in 2
That's one thing. Second, when you play a team that won 11 of their 14 games by 1 score, you weren't exactly beating a juggernaut.
I didn't say anything about the wins and losses. All I said was I took
your math. Beating a juggernaut, and you know it. Come on, come back. Listen, come back in. Let me reel you in.
I
get way too far out there.
This is his style. He don't like to talk because he knows he's wrong. So he tells John, listen to this math. His team won 3 extra games, lost their final 6, didn't make the playoffs, and yet his team's heading in the right direction. My team won 5 extra games, played 2 playoff games, and we're heading in the wrong direction. So
may I make my case to John? Thank you.
Yeah, please.
His team played. His team showed up for 2 playoff games. One of them they didn't play. That was quite evident by the score. The other team, the other game, they barely won. They beat a team that barely beat anybody. Was just happened to be lucky for that many games. When you win 11 games by 1 score, that is not skill. That is luck. Okay? Could have went either way. All right?
John, just tell him it doesn't make any sense. Please keep it real on yourself for once. I can't.
I will do anything you want.
Yeah.
When the Giants go to a playoff game and fucking win. Not barely is no. They barely made it. When I mean win, I want to see 10 or more points.
So what do you say about how do you say the Jets are headed in the right direction when they didn't even make the playoffs and got smoked and didn't show up for at least 3 of the games in the final 6? They didn't even show up. They could have called it in from the parking lot and played Stratomatic football better than the way they played. Yet your team's headed in the right direction.
And the final record, shows that they lost 6 in a row. That's fine.
Yeah.
They also won more. They grew as a team.
So did the Giants.
Come on, please. They played in the NFC East. It's a bullshit division.
And 3 teams went to the playoffs. 3 teams went to the playoffs. In the bullshit NFC East, it was the best division of football this year.
The NFC also sent the team to the playoffs with a losing record.
Not this year.
Yes, this year.
This is the verbal
what NFC East team went to the playoffs?
I didn't say NFC East. They said the NFC sent the team.
Oh, so who cares?
Doesn't matter. Weaker division.
Let's put it this way: if you were in the NFC East, you still wouldn't have made the play. In the NFC, you still wouldn't have made the playoffs with your 7 wins.
No, I would have to be in the NFC South to make the playoffs.
Oh my God! Please, Jeff.
Nobody should have made it out of that division.
Jeff. Just be honest. I'm not telling you the Giants are ready to win the Super Bowl next year, but the Giants are completely headed in the right direction. They've got their franchise quarterback. They've got their coach. They've got their franchise left tackle. What's the 3 biggest positions to fill in football? Quarterback, left tackle, and probably edge rusher. You can make a case for corner. Okay? the Giants have three of those things right now. Yeah, sure they do.
You know what else they do? What else is filled?
Well,
Their fans' fucking brains with
oh my
propaganda.
God. John, let's
Guys,
get
you
John.
actually
Let's
believe this
get
shit.
off the Giants and
Dude,
the Jets for a little
What's on
while.
your teeth?
Oh my God. Let's
What is on your teeth?
I think both teams are headed in the right
your
direction,
teeth.
guys. No matter what. The Jets just need a
Did you
quarterback.
see that? Look at Tommy's.
Oh,
That's bullshit that you've been eating.
Yeah.
Eating over there.
Good morning, Mike Weissman. I think Mike's going to pull his sponsorship of the show.
You're over there like this.
Let's get to it, guys. Let's get to a little bit of last week's games. We'll talk about all the different quarterbacks. I'm glad to be back doing this with you guys, and we're going to talk about all the different things going on in football, and then we'll break down tomorrow's games. Thanks for everybody. And speaking of Mike, let's get that. Hold on, there it is. Remember, this show is supported by our good friends at Hemp Wizard Beard Care Company and their special line of beard care and skin care products, including the Sunday Audible scent. Personally helped design this, Mr. Jeff Towinski, our fuzziest guy on the show. A little peach, a little vanilla, and a little leather on the beard, Jeff, and it makes it nice and soft and smells nice, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It coats, it soothes, does a lot of things.
And,
makes you look nice, makes you look purty.
There you go. And Jeff's a big fan of the Cushmans, along with some of the other products. And, of course, they're not only known for their great beard care products, but their skincare products. I told you, my wife loves the strawberry switchblade and for her skin and hands. And I'm telling you guys, if you got a loved one out there who's got the beard like Jeff, or maybe they got a starter one, or maybe they just need some skincare products, Hemp Wizard Beard Care Company, they're the place to do your shopping. And make sure you go to hempwizard.net for all your products. Not only are they great businessmen and have a great product, but they're great guys. And I'm hoping next time I'm in Florida, I get to meet up with Mike and spend a few minutes with him, maybe have a cold one.
Were you in their area?
Mike and I never really I was about an hour and a half from him. I'm not sure if south or north. Next time I want to have a little more time. There's a few people I wanted to run into. I was too busy and only had a short amount of time. But next time I'll make sure I meet up with Mike and say hello and introduce myself formally for the show. But in the meantime, guys, introduce yourself to Hemp Wizard Beard Care Company and their great line of skincare and beard care products.
This is the stuff you got to get right here.
Cushman's. That's Jeff's stuff.
Right.
I knew he liked it so much. I bought him a bottle for Christmas because I know how much he loves it. That's how much.
And that was definitely unnecessary. It was very nice.
That's okay. That's what we do. And again, let's get to last week's games, guys, and we'll start from the top down. And the first one was Chiefs Jaguars, which was an interesting, but not an exciting game. I don't think anybody was surprised by the game. John, I'll start with you since me and Jeff have been hogging the mic for the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes. I will say this. I had a lot of respect for Mahomes and the way he played, and I think the Jaguars are close to being a legit team in that conference.
I agree, Tommy. I mean, Jacksonville took a huge step this year, and it was funny because it kind of happened, mid-season.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those things where they came out of the gate and started to look good, but you saw a lot of growth around, Trevor Lawrence. And I'll tell you what, the core of that team, it's a young team. He developed, with Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk. And I'd like to see, what this team's going to look like next year. And I think they're going to be solid. They gave Kansas City a game.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that had to do with the Mahomes injury.
Yeah.
But, they hung in there. I mean, those guys could have given up, quit. They kept coming back, and I was impressed.
Yeah, Jeff, I think we all I expected the Chiefs to kind of run wild. Now, I think the injury to Mahomes was a big factor in the game not being a rout. And I think the outcome wasn't a surprise. I thought it would be a little bigger. But I think this is an important year for the Chiefs, and this was a huge step for the Jaguars to play that well this late into the season.
Yeah, but I question the Jaguars. Are they that good of a team, or was it that they came across a Chiefs team that just maybe wasn't playing as hard as they should have? The Chiefs have been in the AFC Championship game now. I think this is their 5th year in a row. They almost, I give the feeling from them that they feel as though it's their right to be there, and that that the championship runs through them for the AFC, which has been the truth for the last couple of years. I mean, their biggest roadblock, Buffalo, to me, knocked out of the playoffs, and let's see Cincinnati. That's won. What was it, 7 or 8 now in a row, 9 in a row?
And they beat the Chiefs 2 in a row now. They beat them this year and the playoff last year. So that Bengal team's going to be tough.
And now we have, the trifecta going right now, possibly. And we got to see. I don't think that the Chiefs, if the Chiefs want to play and they show up and they're firing on all cylinders, I don't think that the Bengals are going to get in their way. The Bengals are definitely due for a letdown, and I don't see the Bengals winning 2 more games this year. I just don't see it happening.
Well, let's get to that last week's game first before we talk about tomorrow's game. But I'm not surprised. I picked them on the air last week. I picked the Bengals to beat the Bills because John and I have talked about it all year. Jeff, you and I talked about it on the Thursday show. The Bills, while showing at times to be the best team in the AFC, have not been a good team, guys. And I thought they would get a huge lift from the Damar Hamlin things. I thought they'd be a little bit chip on their shoulder, not getting to play and have a chance to host the AFC championship game. But the Bengals, to me, are playing like a disrespected team. They're firing on all cylinders, even when they're not blocking for Burrow. He makes plays, and he might be the best quarterback in this playoff right now. He may be the best quarterback left, and that's not a knock on Patrick Mahomes. I think Mahomes has been a little off. And now with the leg, I'm not sure he's the same quarterback. But that was an impressive beating, Jeff, of the Bills last weekend. I mean, to go into Buffalo and just not only beat them, but let them know they were never really in the game, the Bills.
No, they fell behind quickly and stayed there and were never able to come back up. But, that whole entire team was flat.
Yeah.
A lot of energy was spent worrying about Hamlin for the weeks leading up to the playoffs. I think that this was a team that just, couldn't take much more at that point in time. Quite evident because they didn't advance. And I mean, at one point in time, everybody thought that they were going to win the Super Bowl the way they were playing.
Oh, absolutely.
And they didn't do it, man. And it's a shame because I like Buffalo too. I was hoping that they made it further into the playoffs. It would have been nice to see them, maybe get a victory, especially as the only New York team left in the playoffs. Because all the other New York teams got knocked out of the playoffs.
So, John,
that wear red, white, and blue uniforms, they got knocked out of the playoffs. And John, I think that you're wearing an Eagles jersey, the team that beat them in the playoffs. Oh, how ironic. Anyway,
it's funny. It's the only green team in the playoffs, though. John, was the Eagles. There's another green team that plays in New York. I think they gave up about week 13 anyway, so it really didn't matter. They stopped showing up. They were using scan plays out of the parking lot. The vendors were coming down to play the way they look. But John, your take on the you were on the fence last week, picking the Bills, but you did because you stuck with them all year. But right. With a loss like that, and I think that team is out of the playoff, is kind of out of time, John. And I think, while you got your quarterback, your coach isn't going anywhere. I think a slight rebuild of the Bills is necessary because as constituted, this team can't seem to get over the hump. Last year it was the Chiefs in the divisional round. This year it was a beating by the Bengals in the divisional round, and both years the defense barely didn't show up. So I think it's time that this team, a better running game and a better defense, Sean. But your take on last week's game?
Yeah, I agree, Tommy. That game was lost up front. It was lost. It was lost immediately too. I mean, they were bullied. Yeah. I mean, on both sides of the ball. And I think there was some things that were that stood out to me in this game too. Was the fact that there was nobody that stepped up. You knew they were going to take Stephon Diggs out of the game.
Yeah.
That's what Cincy's plan was going to be. That would be anybody's plan. Gabe Davis didn't step up at all this year. I thought he took a huge step back. Inability to run the ball.
Yep.
And the thing that I saw that was really the a key thing to me was the missed tackles. You know, if it wasn't for Matt Milano standing out,
Oh,
you know, like he has all year, I mean,
ah,
these guys did absolutely nothing against the Bengals. Tight end was open the entire game.
yep.
There was no halftime adjustments made. I think it's concerning for that team. I think the window, while it still is open,
Sure.
but it's closing. It's getting there.
Yeah,
You know?
this team as built has to change. You can't. You're not going to call it a rebuild because you're not getting rid of the coach and you have your franchise quarterback. But this team as built needs to is not good enough. And Jeff, what surprised me watching the game was it seemed like the Bengals had no problem with footing and traction on a snowy day, and they were able to get a pass rush, and they were all over Josh Allen. Yet the Bills could not get to Joe Burrow. And Jeff, we've talked about it all year. The one negative for the Bills all year has been the fact that they can't block.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Right.
about halfway through the season, the Buffalo Bills went through a transformation. I think it was around the time that the Jets ended up beating them, and they just didn't seem like they had the confidence that they once did. And I'm not saying that they're a bad team because they're not. They finished first in their division, but they were shaky. And it was always, at one point in time, they were firing on all cylinders. And then after a while, they just always seemed shaky on some level. Something didn't show up every game, whether it was
That's
special
true.
teams or the defense, and I mean, do I think that they need a major rebuild? No, I don't think so. But I think they need to tweak some parts without a doubt. I still think that they're going to be a favorite to get to the Super Bowl from the AFC and for many years to come. But the same thing, like as the Chiefs and Mahomes, they slipped a little bit after Tyreek Hill left. They're not the same team. And I think that's what Buffalo's going through. But the good teams continue to find ways to win when something like that happens. So let's see what happens next year, what they do in the offseason, the Bills, and how they rebound for next year. And if they rebound and then you can show that they could change on the fly, make adjustments and patch the holes, so to speak, as they go forward. And that's what the difference is between a good team and a bad team and a rebuilding team. Good teams don't have to rebuild. They just replace certain pieces and they know which pieces have to be replaced. Look at Bill Parcells up in New England. They never went through a rebuild in 20 fucking years.
Belichick,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the right way to do it. And unfortunately, nobody else has figured out how to do it the way he did it. And I think that's what makes that as special as it was. You're right, 100%. But yeah, listen, John, this Bills team has done a lot of good things. It just has not gotten over that hump. And I think this year was the wake up call that they need. This is not you didn't lose in a shootout. Just this wasn't an overtime problem. This was essentially you got your ass whipped. And I was surprised that it just seemed like the Bengals had more answers for the conditions and the game. They came out and they were fired up from the jump.
Right, Tommy, and it's when you have that type of beatdown, I think that's worse for that locker room than it would have been if it was just like you said, an overtime thing or something. Because now you got to go back and watch that film and say, man, we had our asses handed to us. They really did on both sides of the ball. There wasn't anything that they did. It was good. Like I said, and that points to the entire team. I mean, starting with the coaches, not making any adjustments that were needed, not going to, they never really implemented any type of short passing game. Dawson Knox is a weapon. I don't think they use the guy enough. I think it's more geared to, Josh Allen running the ball, looking for Stephon Diggs an awful lot. I think you need to, go to kind of like what the Chiefs did, that shorter passing game until you get that receiver to complement Diggs on the other side.
Yeah, it's going to be good, Jeff.
Isn't the window closing on Stephon Diggs? Isn't he like 31, 32 years old?
Yeah, you're right, Jeff. He's not. You don't have many more years of him as a number one receiver. He's still a good receiver, and he'll still be the guy next year, I would think. But they're going to need to plug in another guy. If Gabe Davis isn't going to be that guy, they're going to need to plug in somebody. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah. So, but again, that sets up tomorrow's matchup now with the Chiefs and the Bengals at Arrowhead. We'll get to that matchup shortly, guys. And remember, thanks for tuning in to the Sunday Audible with host Jeff Tomwinski, John Mahefker, and myself. And we're back here for the next couple of weeks. And then we'll be putting this show to rest till probably draft day. And then we'll be back again next year, hopefully with full cast and even more going on. But, guys, let's get to the
off to the NFC, because I've kind of forgot who's playing in the NFC.
Oh, boy, here we go.
I just wanted to
Well,
verify.
let's get to the Giants-Eagle games, and I'll give you my take. What plagued the Giants all year plagued them in this game, and it just came out to, I thought it would be a closer game, and I picked the Giants to win it. But as a Giant fan, you knew in the back of your head that they weren't as good as the Eagles, and it showed all year. But you couldn't stop the run. You didn't force Jalen Hurts to show if he was healthy or not, and I still don't know if he's healthy. He didn't have to do anything. He really just had to do the minimal,
Right.
and they couldn't protect Jones, and that's the problem that's plagued them against the great teams and the really, really good teams. So, John, did I learn anything out of this game? No, I don't know if the Eagles are playing any better. I thought the Giants played their worst game in a while, and it was disappointing because I wanted to see a close game. I wanted to get to the fourth quarter, but it didn't get there. But I am not disappointed in the Giants season. I'm happy. I think there's a lot of good things came out of the season, but it was a very disappointing game. And the things that plagued them in their weaker spots really showed this week. They could not stop the run, and they could not protect Daniel Jones enough to let him set up and throw. And the receivers didn't come to play. Hodgins disappeared, and James dropped an easy 60-yard touchdown pass that showed that there are things that this team needs to fix, John. So let's see where, give me your thoughts on last week's game.
Yeah, I agree, Tommy. You need to step up in big games like that. And the touchdown drop, really, it took the air out of them too. But like you said, not being able to protect.
I don't know if there we go. You know what that face is for?
Not sure, Jeff.
That's the face that somebody puts on when it's a shame they lost. But they tried, didn't they? But they weren't going to win.
John, please. I'm sorry you were rudely interrupted. So please go ahead.
No, I always get the good laughs with Jeff. But yeah, they when you lose games like that in the playoffs, the main thing that you have to do in the playoffs is run the ball, protect the quarterback, and and stop the run. I mean, you can't let a team just bully you up front. And I think we saw that in both of these games. And that's where it ended right there. I mean, you have to be strong in the trenches in these games. Mm-hmm. And that's what does it. I mean, the running game, frees up your passing game, your play action game, everything that you that you need to do. And Philly gave them nothing really, Tommy.
No, like listen. Yeah, and listen, when you're the Giants and you got to come out in that game, you got to run the ball and you got to protect the quarterback. And when it fails early, you're in desperation mode. Now you're trying to do things you're not used to, Jeff, and that's where you get into when you're playing in a game where you need to be tip top, and all of a sudden you go out, you can't run the football and you can't throw the ball down the field because one, your receivers aren't catching it, and two, you don't have time. At that point, you're praying the other team makes more mistakes than you do, and the Eagles didn't have to make any mistakes.
That evidently didn't happen, but you know what? The offensive line has been a problem since Jerry Reese was there. And it seems as though that I know that it's not a quick fix, but not one of the general managers that they've had have been able to fix that offensive line. Part of the reason that the Giants aren't in the playoffs right now is because of their problems with the offensive line. Sure. It shut down their run game, it shut down their passing game. Okay? Whoever they choose to get this year, maybe what their biggest need is offensive line and wide receiver. Their wide receivers were horrible this year. Galladay actually had the balls to catch a touchdown pass. What was it, in one of the playoff games or the
last game of the season against the I think it was the last game of the season.
If I was the Giant coach, I would have run out on the field and I would have told them, you know what, keep it. I don't want it. I don't want a replay. I'm asking for a replay. Fuck him. It's the red challenge flag because that guy sucked all year. I don't even want his contribution right now. I would have had him benched. That would have been me. Huh?
Total bust.
Yeah,
Total,
absolutely, 100%.
waste of money. But
Well, but again, I think what your Giants figured out this year is you got the two tackles. I mean, Neal's going to get better. He had a decent season, say up and down like any rookie, especially a guy who really didn't play right tackle in college. I thought he had a decent start. He had some bad moments. He'll get better. And Andrew Thomas has turned into a top 3, top 4 left tackle in the league. So,
but there's three other positions.
100%. The 3 guys in the middle,
and
they have to fix, but you're not going to fix it early in the draft. So you're gonna grab a guy.
You got to fix it in the first round.
No.
Okay, but you have to be smart. You have to take the right guys.
Absolutely.
You got to be sharp in free agency.
Yep.
If you think your guy is there and you're not going to pay through the nose, and you want to keep Jones and Barkley on the team, well, those 2 guys are proving to you that they need help.
Yes.
They need a receiver, okay? Because without a receiver, Barkley means nothing, okay? Because he's not going to get your chance to run. They're just going to key in on him. Without an offensive line, what difference does it make if they run or pass the ball? It means nothing, okay? So they need the offensive line. They need the help up front, and then they need the help on the sides with the wide receivers. All right, so maybe you want to give Barkley. Barkley wants to stay. I also hear rumors, of course, fan rumors. I'll refer to them as that Barkley ends up in Miami this year.
It's possible.
Hey,
he came out. Well, no, he came out and said first he didn't want to reset the whole, the market. So he wasn't looking to break the bank at $16 million, what McCaffrey got. And I like McCaffrey. I think he's a great player, but I wouldn't have gave McCaffrey that kind of money because the guy's always hurt. But he got it. But I would not give Barkley 16. I would not turn this team upside down and give him that. If I could get him at a good deal, for 10 or 12, I would probably make that move because he's a dynamic player, and you can never guess on health. But other than that, if Saquon Barkley wants to leave, I'd have no problem with it. I'd like to see him stay. To me,
that there's running backs in the league that cringed at the sight of that article where Barkley said he doesn't want to reset the league.
Correct. You're absolutely right. Yes.
They're probably like, what is wrong with
I'm sure the union fired him off a couple of emails and texts and said, what are you, out of your freaking mind? But, yeah, I think he knows, and I think he wants to stay here. I think ultimately it'll get done, and he won't break the bank because they're going to have a lot of money to spend, but you can't spend it all on 2 players. Now, I love Jones and want Jones to stay, but I don't want them breaking the bank. They're talking about Dak Prescott money, and Dak Prescott's not worth that money. I'm hoping they can get Jones at a reasonable rate, even if you say, hey, we'll do it for 3 years and give him, 3 years from now, he'll be 28 and he'll still have another bite of the apple. So go out there and prove it and then get that big, huge number. But you look at some of these guys, I think Stafford's do $60 million this year. What's his name? $59 million for Rodgers. And Lamar Jackson's trying to get $50 million guaranteed contract. If I'm the Giants, I can't play in those numbers, and I certainly don't want to play at 40. You got to get Jones at 30, 32, even less than that on a friendly deal. Give him more guarantee the whole thing, and less money. But that's for another show. We'll get to that.
I think it would be smart if they kept him to 3 years, like you said, and even
right.
You know what? I would, if you franchise him. Is it worth it in the long run to franchise him?
Well, the problem is they're thinking that they may see. The problem is they can do that and get him for I think $32 million next year, which to me is borderline okay. But the problem is they want to think about using the franchise on Barkley, which should put him about $12 million or $11 million. So if they want to keep Barkley for another year, they franchise him and then pay him. The honest truth is, the rumors that I've read on all the things is that the Giants wanted him to sign a 4-year or better deal. And the rumor is that his camp may only want to do 3 years.
Jones?
So because that'll give. See, right now he's an unknown. He had a great season this year, but the past is still the past.
That's why I say I would try to franchise him.
Well, the problem again, it's not a dumb idea. It's the problem is you want to use the franchise on a different guy, and you also got to remember they have to pay Dexter Lawrence, and they could use that franchise on him to keep him around another year. And that would get rid of the next year Leonard Williams contracts off the books, and you'd have more money to pay Dexter Lawrence. So there's a lot of green areas here, a lot of gray areas, I should say, for the Giants to deal with. And let's hold that for a different show. But yeah, I mean, the good news is, in years past, you didn't have any players you wanted to pay because they all sucked. Now you got players that you kind of want to keep and keep around long term, and which is a good sign. But let's get to the other game so we can get to tomorrow's games. And the Cowboy-Niner game was a low-scoring, kind of interesting football game. And, if you're a Cowboy fan, it turned into exactly what it's been over the years. You get there, you have all this hype, you think you got a chance, and Dak just doesn't show up. And, guys, Johnny, I'll tell you, to me, I've said it, I think the guy's an average quarterback who was playing on a very good team. I don't think the team's very good now, and I don't think he's good. The problem is I think you're stuck with him for another 2 or 3 years. If you're the Cowboys, how do you get out of this hell? You're stuck with a guy making $40-something million a year, and it's eating up your budget.
Yeah, you really don't get out of that, Tommy. I think it's you're gonna have to stick with this guy. You made the commitment, and he's gonna be their guy for for that period of time. But he's got a lot of weapons. He's got a lot of good players around him offensively, but the guy just doesn't make plays at big games, and that's really what this comes down to. The interceptions, is one of the things.
Yeah.
I mean, the bad reads.
Yeah.
I thought the game against Tampa was just because Tampa was that bad.
I agree. That was the question. The question became, was he that good at Tampa that bad? And I think it comes down to, I think Tampa's that bad.
Yeah, Tampa did absolutely nothing against them, and he lit them up. I don't even know what to say. I think I always thought that the problem, and I still think this, and have for years, is Jerry Jones. I mean, that guy just, his interference with that team is causing the problems, and that's the reason that they can't get over the hump.
I would certainly agree, and like I said, as a Giant fan, I hope he stays there forever. But Jeff, you've been a little bit more of a Dak guy than the rest of us. I mean, at some point, he's got to break the glass ceiling and make it to another step, and he can't. Here's the thing, in my opinion, he can't be the reason why you lose. He could be, part of the problem, but right now he gets to these big spots, and he's the reason why the Dallas Cowboys are losing football games.
Maybe so, but you know what? Whose fault is that? That's Jerry Jones's fault.
Oh, absolutely.
And it goes to show you, when the owners think that they have a starting quarterback in this league, they'll throw all kinds of money at him, thinking that they got a deal and that they're going to have him for the next 5 years or whatever it is that they signed him for. And now they're faced with a major problem. But now, see, this is where when the player signs a 5-year deal, and after year 3, they feel like they're outperforming their contract and they want to rework their deal so that they make more money. But now the opposite is happening.
Yep.
The owner has a player that can't go to the next level, and yet still paying this guy. And the player's not going to turn around and say, well, I'm underperforming, so let's cut my deal. Let's rework my deal.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have to rework the deal. The owner can ask him, but, that may be ironclad that there's not much that they can do. Dak Prescott, he's just got to show up and he's going to get paid. You know? And this is the bad side of the NFL, and it's finally starting to show for some of these teams. And you got a guy like Jerry Jones, he has no choice but to turn around and say, oh, Dak's our quarterback. Yeah, well, of course he is. There's 40-something million reasons that say that he is. And there's nothing that you're going to do about it. If he knows you're not cutting him, he knows you're not trading him because nobody's going to trade for him.
Yep.
He's there. So, it shows you that the owners need to be smart. Some of these other guys signed, like Lamar Jackson and his deal. He turned down, $130 million? That's scary that he turned down $130 million. Think about that.
Well, there's a guy who thinks, again, there's 2 contracts that we can all go back to and say they've ruined the NFL. First was the Kirk Cousins one.
There's more than 2.
No, but because they've inflated the NFL quarterback market so bad. When you give Kirk Cousins, I don't know, was it $28 or $29 million a year to go to the Vikings? That was one. And then the Deshaun Watson one. Now all of a sudden everybody wants Deshaun Watson's contract, and look what happened. Now the Cardinals are stuck with Kyler Murray at a bad contract, and Lamar Jackson's itching for that. And I don't think Lamar Jackson's any good, but he's better than Deshaun Watson. Yeah, Jeff,
he's a different type of player. I understand what you're getting at there with him, but I don't think I don't know if I'd go that far and say that he's a better player, because at least Deshaun Jackson throws the ball.
I'm with you, but Deshaun Watson's never. But Deshaun Watson's never won an MVP. He's never taken a team to the play, to the team into the playoffs. I'm with you. I don't like it, but yeah, don't forget your guy. Frankie is right. That guy with another disaster contract. But that's the problem.
You're
right now.
100% right. But you want to know something? Once again, you can't blame the player.
No.
If somebody came on here right now and right on that right-hand side of the screen and sent a message and said, guys, I want to sign you to an NFL contract as commentators and give you each $20 million. Neither one of the three of us is going to say, well, I'm not worth that kind of money. We're all going to say, okay, where do we sign? And where do we go next week?
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with guys in the NFL.
Oh, I agree. It's not the player's fault.
They turn around and say to Lamar Jackson's agent may say to him right now, listen, we're going to get you $35-40 million a year. Okay. And then the numbers come in and be like, that's not $35-40 million a year. I don't want that kind of money. I want high. I want this. Okay. This is the market. You might not get a better offer. Your team's
there's always somebody desperate, Jeff. I mean, and I'm not going to pick on the Jets, but I mean, 2 weeks ago, everybody had Lamar Jackson going to the Jets, and they were asking Woody Johnson, and of course, you can't talk about another team's player, but they were all saying that Woody's going to give him whatever he wants. And to me, that's that's the problem. Is not just the Jets; it's a lot of teams who are just desperate for their quarterback. I mean, somebody's going to give Garoppolo big money. Somebody's going to give Derek Carr another big contract. Somebody's going to give, Aaron Rodgers is going to play somewhere for $60 million this year, and he wasn't very good last year. And somebody's going to give Tom Brady big money. And
Aaron Rodgers is going to have no choice but to go to the Jets this year, I feel.
No choice? I disagree with the no choice.
Oh, no. Listen, they're going to fucking sell it. They're going to sell it, and they're going to pay him, and he's coming here. And when he gets here, he's going to hit the center in the back of the head with every pass he throws. Okay.
If I were the Jets, I would be running from that deal. 60, you're going to give him.
I agree.
$60 million.
I'm a Jet fan, and I'm telling you, I don't want to see it happen.
Yeah,
Why do you want a 39-year-old quarterback? All you're doing, it's going to take him a year to get acclimated, and it's going to take another year off his arm.
Here's what I would say to that, and maybe you guys will tell me I'm wrong, but if I could get him at a 2-year deal and spread the money out, right, give him, and then if I believed that I had my quarterback, and I don't believe they do, but it seems like the Jets, for whatever reason, are still saying that Zach Wilson's their guy, then put Rodgers there for a year or two, let the kid play behind them, whatever. I think Rodgers is better even today than most quarterbacks out there. He's still better than a lot of these guys that are on the market. I'm not talking about the Josh Allens and the Patrick Mahomes and all that, but they're going to have to bring in a veteran guy. If they could get Rodgers at a better rate, $40 million over 2 years, for 2 years, I would say make that move. He puts them in the playoffs next year. Does he win a Super Bowl with them? I don't know. But him throwing to Garrett Wilson and Mims and those guys, he's got a better receiving core now, and he'll be a better quarterback for it. But you can't give him $60 million a year, Jeff. That's suicide.
First of all, listen, who's he a better quarterback than, Tom? Who's he a better? He's not better than Allen. He's not better than Mahomes.
No. He's better. I'm saying the guys who are better. No.
He's better than most of the league, like the lower half, definitely.
But he's still better than the guys on the market. I'm saying the guys that can be had. I take him over Lamar Jackson. I take him over Derek Carr. I take him over Garoppolo. I take him over all of those kind of guys.
And the thing that you are saying is where do you place these guys? There's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Yeah. Where do you place these guys? These are mid-level guys at best.
No, I agree.
Is definitely a top 10 to 15 quarterback.
Yes.
He's not a top 5.
No. Okay? But the problem is who you're going to get, Jeff. If you don't take Rodgers, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm saying if you don't take Rodgers and you're going to wind up with one of the guys he's better than anyway, because you can't go into next season.
Yes, but here's the thing, though, Tom. Here's the thing. One of the guys that he's better than, be it Garoppolo or Derek Carr, okay, is also 7 to 8 years younger than he is right now. Okay. Yeah. So what are you going to do? Are you going to take a 39-year-old quarterback? Okay. We've already seen it happen. And I'll give you some names that faulted. Okay. Eli, Peyton, Rivers, Roethlisberger. Okay. I don't want to add Rodgers to that list wearing green. I do not want it. He's 39 years old. If he was that good, how come the Packers weren't a better team this year? Okay. I understand that, the Vikings outplayed them. He didn't have a receiver. They signed him to a major deal. They trade his receiver away.
Right.
I understand all of that. But when you had Tom Brady and the Patriots, he took these nobodies and he made them household names and better players. Aaron Rodgers didn't do that this year. The years past, yes.
Right.
Okay. We had 2 of his 3 receivers on our fantasy team.
Mm-hmm.
One of them we cut, and the other one we couldn't figure out what to do with all year round because he wasn't producing. All right. So now I understand you got Garrett Wilson, Mims, Elijah Moore on the Jets, better receivers than maybe he had this year, but that arm is getting older. Look at Drew Brees. Drew Brees couldn't throw the ball in his last 2 years in the league. Peyton Manning couldn't throw the ball in his last year in the league. I don't want to see Rodgers come here because he's the best of what we can get today. For today. Tomorrow.
But what's the answer? Bringing in Garoppolo, who can't stay healthy, Carr, who hasn't won with anybody. He hasn't done anything with anybody.
Aaron Rodgers has won how many fucking Super Bowls?
We won one, but
he won one, yeah.
Yeah.
Against Pittsburgh, unfortunately.
So you're saying you would rather Garoppolo or Carr before you get Rodgers? I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just curious.
The reason why I would rather go with Garoppolo or Carr is simple, and I don't think that either one of them is a major answer. I think they're a step in the right direction. I don't think that they're the major fix. Is that they're both young enough where you could get other pieces in place to play around them and help them. Where I think Aaron Rodgers at 39 years old, you don't know when the arm is just going to say, he could play, I'm not playing no more. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to let him throw the ball more than 10, 15 yards at a clip.
John.
Are the Jets really that close to where they could make that decision to bring him in? I think it's a better fit. Like I've been saying, for the last few weeks, I think Carr's a better fit. I think, to build around the quarterback, like Jeff's saying, you need a guy that's a little bit younger. But, they have the pieces, but they still don't have all the pieces yet. And to bring in a guy like Rodgers, I mean, he wants to – if he's going to come in for that money, he's going to want to –
He's not coming to the Jets.
That is saying that the Jets are one player away from making the Super Bowl. This is a team that didn't make the fucking playoffs. Okay? Did they get better from last year? Yes, there's no doubting that. Are they a better team? Are they a more formidable team than they were last year at this time? Without a doubt. But they did not come close to the playoffs. Okay? They were in the discussion of the playoffs into December. But all they had to do was win, and they didn't win.
Correct. Okay? 1 or 2 games. That's it.
Not Derek Carr. Aaron Rodgers can't make his mind up, lets people hang, doesn't tell you what's going on. I may not play. I may go here. I may want to play there. I may not. No, you don't know. Why do we need this? He's a diva. Who the fuck wants him? Give him some shampoo. Let him wash his hair. That's what I say.
I'll be honest with you. I think his only play next year is back in Green Bay. I don't see him going anywhere. I don't think I think at this point the Niners think they have their quarterback. So I don't think anybody's going out there. I think Brady, if he plays, is going to wind up in Vegas. I'd be shocked. I've heard rumors of back in Buffalo and the Buccaneers. Can't imagine that. I've heard rumors. I've heard him going back. That he's going back to New England, which I think is ridiculous. I don't think it'll ever happen because Bill O'Brien's going back there. So if you're asking me, I think if Brady plays, 90% of what I feel is he goes out to Vegas.
I think Brady's acting like a dickhead at this point in time when people asking him and he's getting all nasty, cursing at people and everything else. I think he knows that it's over and it didn't end the way that he wanted to.
Yeah, it's very possible.
I'm thinking that he's going to look for the optimum team to go to get a playoff chance. Okay, is that the Vegas Raiders? I don't think so. Is it the Dolphins?
I think it's the Dolphins. You think about the weapons he's got there.
Right.
To me, Jeff, think about it. I mean, if he goes up to the Raiders, he gets Devontae Adams,
and he gets Josh Jacobs in the backfield. I mean, he's got a great running back there too. I think it's a good fit.
Not ready to compete for a Super Bowl. Tom Brady is not going to waste his time and get dirty and full of mud.
That team was good all year long. I mean, that team was close. Tua didn't fall apart at the end of the year. Miami would have been a bigger team, I think, at the end of the year. They have a decent defense. They need a little help. But think about Brady throwing to Waddle and Hill, Gesicki. They have a decent running game. That's a good fit, and he wants to stay in Miami. He wants to stay in Florida. I think he doesn't want to be in Tampa, but yeah, I don't, Jeff. Otherwise, where's the good fit? It ain't the Panthers. I'd be shocked if he went
No,
back.
he's not. No.
If he went to the Panthers.
No.
I think Miami.
My point being is that I don't think that Brady wants to be part of a rebuild. I don't see Brady.
No, I agree with you.
A team
He doesn't.
that's he doesn't want to be in a top 16 team. Brady, I think, would want to go to a top 10, top 8 team where he has a legitimate chance to close it out with a
But
championship.
all those teams have quarterbacks. So I mean, the one team I thought he could have went to would have been the Niners. But I think between Trey Lance that they believed in last year or this year and having Purdy now, I don't think they're going to make that move. I would be shocked if they went that way. So
I don't think Trey Lance ever sees the field again for the Niners.
I listen. I don't know. I don't know how they play this out, and you may be right, but it's going to be interesting. But
Brock Purdy goes to the Super Bowl. If that team makes it to the Super Bowl, okay, I don't think Trey Lance ever plays again. If that team wins the Super Bowl, I think Trey Lance gets traded.
Yeah, think about that. I mean, why would the Niners want to do anything with the quarterback situation they have? They have 2 guys on rookie deals they're paying absolutely nothing for.
Yeah,
and they're winning Super Bowls. I mean, you put your money elsewhere. That team in the next couple of years is going to be a juggernaut.
Well, that's Trey Lance.
Agree with
that's
you
why
more.
they trade him. Well, like they may trade him simply because the money, the contract, the money part of it, and he's young.
Well, I would tell you,
may want him and think that they could fix whatever's going on with him, whatever's wrong with him. So I don't see.
I think Lance stays there as a backup for a while. I think he's got no leverage to get out of there. And listen, even if Brock Purdy comes up and wins the Super Bowl, there's still going to be questions, next year about it. And and if he were to get hurt or if he fall on his face, you still have the guy you thought was the guy, and you're going to next year that way. But yeah, right. I agree. I think Tom, that was the one place, Jeff, I agree with you that Tom Brady could say, hey, I can go to a team that's pretty ready to win a Super Bowl as just what they're doing this year. But after that, you go top 8, top 10. I don't think there's a need for a Tom Brady. I think you got to reach out to teams, like Miami. Maybe I know some people put the Saints in there. I don't necessarily put the Saints in that category.
Well, a lot of people wanted to see does he hook up with Sean Payton?
Yeah, that seems to be the big thing. But Payton hasn't even gotten Payton's price tag and the money you got to give the Saints to get him out is a big gamble. And so far, nobody's jumped at him. I mean, Frank Reich got another spot over there. Indianapolis looks like they're going to hire the Giants defensive coordinator and give him a second interview. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get the job. Maybe Denver. Maybe that's where he winds up. We'll see. But, it's going to be an interesting offseason. Let me ask you this one question for you guys before we get to tomorrow's games. Lamar Jackson, a Raven next year?
I think so.
I think so too. I mean, I just think this is a lot of song and dance here. Okay. I don't particularly think the guy is a great quarterback.
No,
I've never put him in that. He's a good running quarterback. I haven't seen him make the decisions that I'd like to see in the pocket. He was starting to get a little bit better this year, and it seemed like Baltimore was trying to transition into that pocket passing team a little bit more. And then he got the injury. So I don't. This is a tough one because I don't think he has the leverage.
He doesn't. In a lot of ways, he doesn't. He's probably more valuable to that team, Jeff. But hey, Jeff, what about Tua? Is Tua Miami Dolphin next year? Is he the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins next year?
I think so. I didn't see what the problem with Tua other than that he gets his brain scrambled too easily.
Nah, did you watch him at the end of the season? He couldn't throw 15-yard passes at the end of the year.
And you yourself just said a few minutes ago that they were on fire earlier in the season.
They were, because he was playing halfway decent.
Well, it was how many concussions less.
What I'm saying is, can you go into the season with a guy with that, who's that susceptible to injuries and concussions? You're Miami again, another team that you're on the cusp of rookie deals expiring. You're one of those things where you have to kind of turn the roster over again. To me, John, if you're the Dolphins, I don't think you can go into next year with Tua as your quarterback.
And guys, he's still in concussion protocol.
Yeah,
I mean, we're looking at 5 weeks right now.
Yeah,
I mean, I know if I was Miami with that roster, you have a window right now that's there.
To me, if you don't want to get Brady, go get Garoppolo or Derek Carr. That makes that team better. Those are better quarterbacks right now than Tua was, even at Tua's height this year. And you got a real good chance in that division with Buffalo taking a step back. The Jets are still looking for their quarterback, and New England's got all sorts of issues right now, firing coaches, moving new coaches in. That team's who knows what New England's going to look like next year. Go get yourself a veteran guy who's more established. Overpay it. If I were Miami, I wouldn't go get Brady. I think Brady's done. I love Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's done. I watched it this year. Go get yourself one of those other guys who aren't as good as Brady, but they're better and younger. And I agree with Jeff's assessment. And you're not going to get Rodgers down there for $60 million. It ain't happening. I'd be shocked.
I just want to answer Frank's question. As far as the Jets signing Buddy Hackett, I don't know, man. I read up on him. Another friend of ours was saying that it was a good deal, that he was a good offensive coordinator. And then I read about his offenses, and I think the best they ranked were like 25th. Where's the upside to this?
Yeah, I think everybody points to the Packer years, and he didn't call plays for the Packers. He was basically a glorified quarterback coach.
When the offense you're affiliated with is only a 25, ranked 25th, what is it you're doing? You're ranked 30th now with the Jets, and now you get a guy that was the best he's done is 25.
Matt Canada.
Fucking kidding me? I could have went and got somebody on the street to do a better job.
Well, his biggest claim to fame is
nurture fucking Zach Wilson.
Yeah, his biggest claim to fame is he got Blake Bortles to the AFC Championship game, which they lost to New England a few years back. That's his biggest claim to fame as an offensive coordinator. He's a good coach, but I gotta, if you're really thinking that
good coaches don't finish 25th.
Yeah, I'm not.
I
wasn't high on it. I don't know who they could have got that would have been better. I'm not really sure, but I didn't think
if he's a good coach, if he's a good offensive coordinator, offensive minded coach, and he finished 25th, well then 26 must have dropped off the face of the fucking earth, and it was just a straight drop down for 15 miles before it hit bottom. That's
I agree, guys.
I can say that.
Sunday Audible, Jeff, Tom, and John. And we're on a few more minutes. We're going to break down tomorrow's games for you, give you our picks. And I guess we'll be back next Saturday. We'll do a little kind of NFL wrap-up, while between the DAT and the Super Bowl, try to get some guests on, talk about the big game. And, of course, we'll be back here Super Bowl weekend, and we'll break down the big game, give you our prop bets, have some fun, and then we'll wrap it up the week after with the Super Bowl breakdown. Again, a few more minutes here. Thanks for tuning in. We are here every weekend doing our thing, and we appreciate you all tuning in and paying attention to us each week. And remember this Thursday night, the return of the Hard Rock and Sports Show, where we'll be doing a lot of the same things all over again. That's just the way we do it. Anyway, guys, let's get into tomorrow's games a little bit. And Jeff, two interesting games. We both were not high on the Bengals early in the season. We thought they last year was a little bit of a fairy tale season, maybe. We were wrong. They're playing great football. They're back in the AFC Championship game. If things had gone a different way, they could have been hosting this game if they had won a couple of games. And boy, they're doing everything right now, playing great defense. Jeff, what chances do you give them against Travis Kelce has a back injury, probably going to play, but he's a little nicked up. Obviously, high ankle sprain for Patrick Mahomes. Jeff, give me your thoughts on tomorrow's matchup in Arrowhead Stadium.
It's probably the best chance that they have, if you think about it. With a couple injuries on the Chiefs side of the ball there, it definitely bodes well for the Bengals. But my thing is simply this, and I've said it before: when you got a team that's been playing hot for weeks and weeks and weeks, sooner or later they're going to come out really flat and cold. Is this the week that it happens? Because if it doesn't happen this week, does it happen in 2 weeks when they go to play in the Super Bowl? So, you're asking this team to stay hot for another 2 weeks and a week off without doing anything. Definitely not going to benefit a team like the Bengals. So I would think that right now they probably have their best chance to go past the Chiefs, but they also beat the Chiefs last year.
Yep.
So, is it going to be a good game? I believe it's going to be a great game. I don't even think that I could pick a winner. To me, it doesn't matter who wins, Kansas City or Cincinnati, because I think we're going to get a worthy opponent for the AFC side of the ball. I like both quarterbacks. I like both teams. Honestly, my preference would be to see Kansas City get in. I would like to see somebody else other than Brady win Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. And Mahomes already has one, so I'd like to see him cement his legacy and get a second Super Bowl win now while he has the chance, because you never know what's going to happen with him.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to go. I like the Chiefs in this one. I think the Chiefs are going to do it.
John, the spread is only 1.5, which is not surprising. Jeff brought up a good point. Mahomes needs to kind of, he's kind of dominated the AFC. He's been in the championship game a bunch of times in a row, only one Super Bowl, win to date. And is the clock ticking on this team, like we've talked about with Buffalo? I to be honest with you, I'm going to be shocked if the Chiefs win this one. But your thoughts? Where do you go with this game?
Like I told you guys, it's been a few days since I said it, but I'm with Jeff on this. I think this is a time that Cincy takes the step back. I think with all the showboating and all the trash talking, Kansas City's flying under the radar here. You don't hear that many reports about Mahomes' injury, and
Nope.
And I think that's funny because I think this guy, he can win on one leg. And I think that really what this really comes down to is Andy Reid and how he schemes for these games. I mean, you don't see the same Chiefs team every week where, Mahomes is keying on Kelsey. Last week they just couldn't cover Kelsey. I mean, he was free in the middle of that field the entire game. I think this game, you're going to see the Chiefs running the ball and go a little bit more to, some of the short passing game. Yeah, Kelsey's going to be involved, but I think you're going to see a lot of Jerick McKinnon. And I think the guy that steps up in this game, there's two guys that I'm highlighting. First one is Pacheco. I think, the guy runs like an animal, and he's extremely fast. I think he's a difference maker. And Kadarius Toney. You saw some glimpses of this guy, as another piece of weaponry for Mahomes. I think Kansas City's going to get this done, guys, and I think it's going to be tight. I really do. This is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be 3 points or less. But I think the magic for the Who days, as much as I'd love to see it, I think it happens this week. They're done.
Oh, okay. So both my partners are on the Chiefs. I'm going to be on the Bengals this week. I disagree with you guys. I think Mahomes' injury is significant. I think it will be exploited by a team that's playing great defense on top of, they get to the quarterback. I don't think this Chief team is as good as last year's team. They don't have Tyreek Hill. I think Kelsey's a little nicked up right now. But I think no matter what you say, Mahomes is escapability. Now he's not a running quarterback, but his escapability and his ability to get out of the pocket and make things happen are going to be severely limited on a high ankle sprain. This isn't a regular ankle sprain. A high ankle sprain takes weeks and months to heal sometimes. Right. I will tell you that I will be surprised if the Chiefs keep it close. I really don't expect I expect the Bengals to really go in there and have a big day. And I will be surprised if the Chiefs win this one. I do. And again, I think the sands of the hourglass have run out on the Kansas City Chiefs. I could be dead wrong, and I might be dead wrong. They're home. But with Mahomes limited on how much he can move, and his game is, we all say it all the time, how do you make that pass? He's rolling out to his right, throws backwards, underhanded. He ain't going to be able to do that. And I think that right now, the way the Cincinnati Bengals are playing, I expect this to be a Cincinnati win. I don't think it's that close. I don't think it's a blowout, but I don't think it's that close. So I'll take Cincinnati. You guys got the Chiefs, and that's one half of the league. Let's move over to the other side of the ledger. Jeff, what should be a very good defensive football game, played by two quarterbacks who have been playing very well this year. Neophyte and Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant from last year. But this should be a good defensive battle, low scoring, you would think. Lots of talent on both sides. How do you see it playing out?
Oh, man, it's another one that's a lot of questions too, I don't like Philadelphia. I don't like any Philadelphia team. I don't know why. I just don't like them. Well, actually, I know why, but I just don't like them. And I don't like them from when I was a kid. When there was this kid, I don't want to mention the name on the air, but when we used to play wiffle ball when we were younger, this kid every week he would say that like, "Oh, Mike Schmidt from the Phillies," and everybody hated the kid. So I was like, I automatically had to hate the Phillies and every Philadelphia team along with them. So I don't want to see the Eagles win, but I wouldn't mind seeing that the 49ers get in. I think the 49ers are going to make it a game, but the 49ers are another team. You know, they've been won like 10 in a row or something like that, 9 in a row.
Yep.
When you get to numbers like that, those are huge. Think about that. The high level that they've been playing at. Sooner or later, they're going to slip up. They're going to make a mistake. They may be tired. They may be excited. They may be full of themselves. You don't know. And then all of a sudden, bang, they make one mistake, and that's it. They're done. That's my worry for the Niners. I'm hoping that the Niners go to the Super Bowl. I think the Niners against either one of those teams will be a great Super Bowl. It'll be a lot of fun to watch. I definitely do not want to see the Eagles in there. I just don't like the way that they play. And I think that I don't think we'll have a great game. I don't think we're going to see a good game with the Eagles in there. So
I agree.
I'm just going to go for the Niners. I'm hoping that the Niners make it in there.
I would agree with you, guy. John, you take your spin at this game.
I know I got the Eagles stuff on today, guys, but let me see here.
Going to the bag of tricks.
Yeah, this is I'm going to take the Niners in this. I mean, I think everybody wants that good story of Brock Purdy finally being Mr. Irrelevant, taking a team to the Super Bowl. But I just the thing, I think this is so evenly matched here. But I think the experience on the 49ers side is what gets this over the hump. I think it's a very competitive game. But Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, I think these guys are, that's a ton of weapons there. And as long as they don't make any of these key mistakes, I think the running game is going to get it done because this is going to be a ground game for sure. I think Purdy makes just enough plays to get it done. I think it's going to be tight, but I'm going to take the 49ers.
All right. So far, my two co-hosts are taking the Niners, and I'm going to join them on this. I first of all, I cannot root for the Eagles ever. I certainly don't like Nick Sirianni after last week. I think he's a douchebag.
Yeah, I didn't like the way that he handled himself on the fucking sideline. He was just being stupid.
Yeah,
right.
I would love to see the fucking 49ers beat them like 35-0.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I despise the Eagles normally. I even hate them even more now. I think this is going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to come down to a lot of it's going to be the play of the quarterbacks, like it always is. But is Hurts really healthy? And can he get out of the pocket, move, and take a hit? And deliver the ball. I just think the Niners defense is the best unit on the field. I think if you add up all 4 units and add the special teams, the Niners defense I think is the best unit out there. I think they're playing great. I know it's on the road. It's gonna be a hostile environment. I think they're gonna do whatever they can to between McCaffrey and Mitchell and keep a short game. I can't see the Niners losing this one. I think it sets up a very interesting Super Bowl matchup either way, Jeff. I think you're right. If the Niners get in, I think it'd be interesting on the AFC side. It's going to be good football. But I'm going to take the Niners in this one. I think it's relatively close until late, and I think a late touchdown or a late score by the Niners puts it away a little bit. So, I'm taking the Niners. So we're going all 3 of us on the Niners. My partners are taking the Chiefs. I'm taking the Bengals, and that sets up for an interesting game. Let me ask you guys this question. Take off that. What's the best Super Bowl game we can get out of this 4?
I think it'd be the Chiefs and the 49ers, to be honest with you. Although I think that in either side of the AFC, whoever it is will make it a good game. I just, last week, the Eagles, they didn't face a test.
No.
They basically had a bye week. They showed up on the field. They ran amok. Nothing stopped them.
Yep.
And they had nothing to stop
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like the Cowboy game after the Cowboys after the Tampa Bay game. Did you really learn anything about the Cowboys? And obviously no, because they came in last week and did nothing. So I totally agree with that philosophy, John. I do.
And I just think that the 49ers, they're playing good, hard football. You're on your third quarterback. It's also a feel-good story, too. Brock Purdy, last guy taken in the draft. He wins a Super Bowl. There is no more elite quarterback that could win a Super Bowl, man. You know what I mean? He's showing that you don't need to be an elite quarterback and that you could get yourself an elite quarterback anywhere within the draft.
That's true. Listen, I mean, Brady, I thought proved that. If this kid goes out there and wins a Super Bowl, Jeff, you'll be 100% right. That would show you that you could get a guy at any spot. You don't have to pay them, $60 million a year.
Listen, that may end up driving salaries up to God knows what. It'd be like, if this guy was the last quarterback picked in the league and this guy played one good quarter in his career so far, we're going to go throw $45 million at him because he may have another one somewhere down the line. It's going to inflate the quarterback league.
It could go the other way too, because you think about it. If you're getting a guy who basically is making league minimum winning a Super Bowl, why do I have to pay a guy $50 million to do it? So put him in a good system around good players, because that's really what it is. I mean, I haven't seen enough of Brock Purdy, John, but the guy's in a good system, trapped in the middle of a lot of talent. That's why he's winning. It ain't Brock Purdy's the best quarterback I've ever seen.
And the thing he's doing is he's making good, smart decisions.
Yeah.
And they're putting him in a situation where he can play that way. I mean, like you said, he has the weapons. I mean, you have Christian McCaffrey, not only running the ball, but checking down in a passing game. You have another check down in Kittle, which is another playmaker.
Yeah.
Two guys that can stretch the field on the outside.
Yeah.
It's a perfect situation for him.
Correct.
Perfect situation for any quarterback, really.
100%. So to me, I haven't seen enough about Brock Purdy to say he's going to be a standout NFL quarterback. There's a lot of stories written in the NFL where guys come out and have one great season. It doesn't really usually end with a Super Bowl. So we'll see if he gets there. Let's see this Niner team come out of tomorrow going into a hostile Philadelphia. Those fans are going to be drinking starting tonight. By the time they get to play that game tomorrow, that stadium is going to be on fire. They're all for their Philadelphia Eagle team, and he's going to be facing a very good Eagles defense, with two good corners in Slay and Bradbury. They're good up front. So let's see what Brock Purdy does. If he comes out there, shits the bed, people are going to go to the offseason questioning, was it just a little bit of fantasy? So it's going to be interesting, guys.
And the reason that's
Sunday.
not going to happen, there's one reason, and nobody's mentioning it, I'm surprised. And that's because of the fingerprints that are on the 49ers. And they belong to one Jet coach, Robert Salah, and his involvement with the 49ers. Well, this is a man that helped build the 49ers from the inside out to the team they are today, proving once again that it's only a matter of time before the New York Jets go to the Super Bowl and impose their will upon others and bring home several.
So you're saying this stepping stone for the Jets this year was to bottom out, lose 6 straight games, and look like they never showed up? Like the team bus never left the hotel?
I didn't say nothing. What I said is that the 49ers have the fingerprints of Robert.
Why can't he rub his fingers on the Jets right now? Tell him to go out there and rub the fingers on the Jets and give them some fingerprints, because
he's building that defense there, though. In New York, I mean, that defense is solid.
Defense, they got smoked with a tight end screen for a 50-something yard touchdown pass. That defense that didn't show up against the Seattle Seahawks.
Listen,
that's
fine. Come next year, this 98 points for the entire year, you'll see. Okay, and
your star players already stick. Here's the difference. Here's the difference. Your star defensive player said, "I'm not showing up for training camp unless I get a contract," and our star players all said, "We want to be Giants forever." There's a difference. All star players, our star quarterback, our star running back, our star defensive lineman have all said, "Hey, we want to be Giants for life." Our star defensive lineman even got the Giants tattooed on his arm. That's how much he wants to be in the Giants.
Tom, they want to fucking stay with the Giants because they know that the Giants are going to pay them big money.
And they're going to be great on a great team.
Fucking paid. Look at Leonard Williams and the money he got. Look at Galladay and the money he got. Okay.
Different
Old
regime.
Lenny Williams had to leave the Jets to get a second contract.
And to get to the playoffs and to make a playoff team.
He made first playoff game.
Okay. First two.
First two. I wouldn't even count that one.
First two.
Please. They didn't even show up for the Philadelphia game. Please.
Two.
Please. Negro, please.
Two.
He didn't even show up.
We're going to end it on that high note. Remember, we'll be back next weekend with our wrap-up of the Championship Sunday. So make sure you come on back. I'm sure it'll be Saturday, but if it changes to Sunday, we'll let you know. And then, of course, we're back for Super Bowl Sunday for our big day game day preview show and all the stuff in between. So, boys, it's been a great show. It's welcome. I'm glad to be back, all three of us. Of course, Jeff and I will be back on Thursday night at 7 o'clock to do the Hard Rock and Sports Show. And then the three of us will rejoin for next Saturday. So, I'll end the show right here. Hope you guys enjoy the games tomorrow. Take the first games at 3, next game at 6:30.
Yeah.
And enjoy your food. Enjoy your day. You guys have a great weekend. And I'm sure we'll be on the thread talking like we do each week. So I'll say for John Marhefka, for Jeff Tolwinski, and myself, we thank you for tuning into the Sunday Audible. Remember our friends at Hemp Wizard, Beard Care Company. Yes, Jeff. Yes, show off your Jets hat. The Jets draft hat. Yeah, Jeff's good. The Jets, the greatest off-season team ever. They win all the drafts and they win all the preseasons, and then they come out.
It's about winning drafts or preseasons, man. This is about building a team one step at a time.
For 50 years.
You know that because you guys just fucking.
That's true. We only win Super Bowls. That's true.
I know it's been so long.
Here's mine, guys.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a Christmas present from Chrissy. Yeah,
that's it's kind of like the Jets. It's kind of like the Jets helmet, just spins round and round and round and round because it's like a bobblehead. But listen, guys, we have some fun, and we hope you did too. So again, for John Marhefka, Jeff Tolwinski, and myself, thanks for tuning in. Have a great night, great weekend, a great week. We'll see you back here. Enjoy the football, guys. I got to run. I'll see you off the air.
Later, man.
Good weekend, guys.
All right, guys.